Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast. I am your host, Mark Henry Jr., and you can follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _, and you can follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines where you're streaming this right now on Twitter or YouTube. Please give at Everything's Fine a follow as well. We had a couple great guests in Lee Ellis and Brandon Lee Gouton on our podcast. It's a Philadelphia sports podcast I host with Kyle Pagan, so go give that a look and a download where I'll also give at Fox PHL Gambler. I produced there. I was producing there at 8 a.m. yesterday. A couple great shows. So on today's show, we go through my top picks on the NFL and a college hoops play as well. We broke even yesterday in college football. Notre Dame got a win. Wrong side. They get to 10-1. And they win 40 straight games against unranked teams. Brian Kelly hasn't lost a game he was supposed to win in like 5 years. Pretty cool. But without any further ado, let's get to the NFL and let's get ready to gamble. So let's start out with a small play. I'll kind of ease your appetite. This is a little appetizer for you guys. The Washington football team versus the Tampa Buccaneers. This is a return to the scene of the crime of the debut of the Heineken. People forget, but Taylor Heineke played a better and more efficient game than future Hall of Famers Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs against Tampa's defense last year. So for that reason, Fitzpatrick's out for the year. Heineke's going to cook today. Washington plus 10 versus Tampa for 1 unit and over 50.5 in Washington, Tampa also for 1 unit. The only team that passes the ball more than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is whoever the Bucs are playing. Tampa has faced a 68% pass play rate, which is the highest in the league. Washington is 31st against the pass. So both of those numbers lend themselves well to the over. 3 times this year, Tampa Bay has played against bottom 10 defenses by DVOA. In those 3 games, they've averaged 40 points. There's no AB or Gronk here, but Godwin may play. It's actually trending towards looking like he will play. So I think Tampa lets Washington hang around in the fourth, and they go back and forth to cash the over in the fourth quarter. So I just said fourth a lot in 3 different meanings there. But I think that this is going to be a close game. Maybe Tampa covers and maybe they win late. But if that happens, I think it pushes the game over. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game. So give me Washington plus 10 and give me over 50.5. So let's get to a big play here. I've got Pat's money line versus the Browns, 5.5 units to win 5 units. I got this line before the Nick Chubb news. That this line has jumped to minus 2.5. I've got a hot take to debut that I plugged on Twitter right here on the Tough Cover podcast. The winner of this game is my pick to win the AFC and represent the conference in the Super Bowl. And since I'm picking the Patriots to win the game, I guess I'm expecting that to be the Patriots. In the preseason, I picked the Browns to go to the Super Bowl. I loved the roster, and I don't think that dream is dead for them, especially if they can win this game. And if this game was in Cleveland, I'd love the Browns just a little less than I love the Pats in New England. I think these teams are about even, but New England, it's home field in this game, and they have Bill Belichick. Ever heard of him? And I actually, this is a hot take again here, but I think I would take Mac Jones over Baker Mayfield personally. I think he's really stepped up through these last couple games. The things that Cleveland do well also, they are tops in the league at and excellent at, but they're vulnerable in a lot of areas. I don't know if New England has that one obvious vulnerability like the Browns have multiple of. New England is just so well balanced, and they're just pretty good at all aspects of football. Mac Jones has a ton of weapons to work with, even with Damian Harris being out in an injured backfield. Mac Jones has completed at least 70% of his passes in 5 of his first 9 games, the only rookie quarterback to ever do so. Belichick is 25-11-1 against the spread lifetime in toss-up games with a spread below 3. Belichick is 39-19-6 against the spread as a home favorite of a touchdown or less. I've got Pats on a pick 'em, but I would take them up to minus 2.5 where they currently are. I think they roll here. Pats money line versus the Browns. Let's get to another play here. I like Colts minus 10 versus the Jags for 4 units. Jacksonville obviously had their big win last week, but they won the game 9-6. I don't think that's going to fly with how Indy's offense has been playing, and there's an obvious letdown spot here for the Jags. The Colts have scored 30-plus in 4 straight games. I know there's been a lot of talk. There's been some ugly Wentz interceptions in that time, but they've scored 30-plus in 4 straight games. The Colts offense is 12th in DVOA and 5th in rushing DVOA. They're 10th in overall DVOA. This is just an obvious mismatch in every sense of the word. Carson Wentz should be in line for a huge day against the Jags' 32nd ranked pass DVOA. This is still the same Jags team who got punked out by Geno Smith 2 weeks ago. The Colts have every they extra rest here coming off of a Thursday game last week. You've got every reason to bet the Colts here, in my opinion. When I saw this line open up at a 9.5, 10 number, I hammered it. Teams that pull off upset wins as double-digit underdogs and are listed as underdogs in their next game are just 15, 28, and 1 against the spread. And when they're double-digit underdogs in their next game, they're 1-7. So this would actually be my survivor play for any folks out there in survivor pools still that have that don't want to use any obvious teams or maybe haven't used the Colts yet. I love the Colts to win today, and I obviously love them to cover here, -10. So let's give a college hoops play since this game's also at 1 o'clock. I got Florida State plus 100 on the money line at Florida for 3 units. This is a loyalty play. I'm loyal to Florida State, Leonard Hamilton, and the athlete machine that they produce. Florida State has the tallest team on average in the country. They are simply the better roster and program in this Florida rivalry right now. They've won 7 of the last 10 matchups and are 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 matchups. Florida State just scored 105 on Penn and won by 35, covering a huge spread. Florida failed to cover the spread of 18.5, only winning by 13 against a bad Elon team. Give me FSU all day long here. So let's get back to football. Let's get back to the real sport here. 405 Chargers -2.5 versus the Vikings for 3 units. I got this at -2.5 early this week. It's now at -3.5. I don't like it as much as I once did. This actually might be a bet I cash out of. I'm not quite sure. I don't think I bet it up to 3.5, and I don't know how much good there is with me talking about this game too much since I'm already kind of doubting my own bet, which is a good value at this point. I expect the Vikings to figure out a way to lose this game, and I was comfortable getting -2.5, but I'm just having that weird nerve that they win by 1 or 2. Maybe throw Chargers money line into some parlays. So let's move on to my best bet, my lock of the night, my play of the day. Sorry, folks. At 425, my best bet. I've got the Eagles team total over 20.5, 6 units to win 5 units. Eagles have scored 21 plus in 7 straight games. The Denver defense is bound to have a letdown performance after a huge performance against Dallas that they still ended up getting 16 in garbage time. This is still a Denver defense that had 34 dropped on its head at home by the Raiders and gave up 27 to the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. I'm extremely confident that the Eagles make this trend 8 straight games, scoring 21 plus points. Eagles team total over 20.5, 6 units to win 5 units. So let's get to my last play here on Sunday Night Football. I like Chiefs -2.5 at Raiders for 4 units. I know all the negative Chiefs trends. They're 2-7 against the spread this year. They're 4-16 against the spread in the last 20 games. That's mainly because they've had big spreads. They've still won most of those games. This is down to a more reasonable number where you're almost just picking a winner. And I'll take the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still 5-4, and we're a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble away in the Ravens game from being 6-3. The Raiders were red hot to start the season and battled through adversity, but how much can one team take? Gruden, Ruggs, now Arnett. Mayock has had to cut both of his first rounders from last year, and he doesn't have the coach who basically hired him. So after watching the Raiders shit show last week against the G-Men, it looks like this is the exact type of time you would want to bet against the Raiders. Derek Carr was dragging this team to wins, but you really saw this team missing their deep threat in Ruggs last week against the Giants, and Carr played his worst game of the last 2 years. They obviously brought in Deshaun. I don't think he's quite ready to fill that, playmaker Henry Ruggs role at this point of his career, just to step in off the street. And the Chiefs have been afforded an opportunity to figure themselves out in this stretch where they've played awful offensively. 2 weeks ago, they got to play poorly and beat the Giants. Last week, they got to play poorly and beat Jordan Love's Packers. And this week, they get the Raiders at the exact time you'd want the Raiders. I like the Chiefs to win and to move on to 6-4. Hopefully, they figure out their offensive woes, but I think there's a chance they could win this game ugly. So let's give you a summary. Let's recap my picks here for you guys before we get you out of here. At 1 o'clock, I like Washington football team +10 versus Tampa for 1 unit. I like the over 50.5 in Washington, Tampa for 1 unit. I like Pat's money line versus the Browns 5.5 units to win 5 units. I like the Colts -10 versus the Jags for 4 units. I like Florida State +100 on the money line at Florida for 3 units. At 405, I like Chargers -2.5 versus the Vikings for 3 units. I've got the Eagles team total over 20.5, 6 units to win 5 units as my best bet. And on Sunday Night Football, I've got Chiefs -2.5 at the Raiders for 4 units. So thank you all for listening. Please give at Mark Henry Jr. _ a follow, and please give at the Painted Lines a follow as well. And enjoy the winners.